The market was loud, hot, and full of rough voices. Merchants shouted prices. Metal tools clashed. Dust rose into the air. And tired people pushed past one another like shadows in a storm. But in the center of all this noise sat one silent figure, an alien girl with pale skin, tangled hair, and one missing leg. She rested on a weak metal stool, holding a small wooden sign made from broken planks. It said only 4 words, written with shaking hands. Work for Prosthetic Leg. Her clothes were torn. Her body thin, her eyes tired, but still full of something strong. Not hope, not anger, not fear. Something deeper. Something that refused to break. People walked by her like she was invisible. Some glanced at her and then looked away quickly. Some smiled in a cruel way, whispering, "Broken girl. Useless girl. Waste of money." Others stopped only long enough to judge her wounds. Then, left without a word, the girl did not speak. She sat with her back straight, staring at the ground. She did not cry. She did not beg. She simply waited. She waited because she believed one thing. If she worked, she could earn money. If she earned money, she could buy a leg. If she got a leg, she could walk again. She could live again. But the market did not care about her dreams. The market only cared about strength, speed, and skill. And she had none of those left. Then, while the sun burned above them, a new figure entered the marketplace. A human traveler, tall, dusty, carrying heavy bags on his shoulders. He looked like he had walked for days through dead lands and empty towns. He searched for tools, food, and water, but something else caught his eye. He saw her, the girl in the dust. He stopped walking. He looked at her longer than anyone else had looked all day. He did not look away. He did not judge her. He just watched. Like he was trying to understand her story from her tired face, the girl lifted her eyes and saw him. For a moment, her cold expression cracked. Just a little, just enough to show she was surprised. Before the human could move closer, a group of rough alien buyers surrounded her. They had leather armor, dirty knives on their belts, and cruel eyes. They laughed loudly as they circled her. One of them leaned down and tapped her wooden sign. "Look at this," he said. "She thinks someone will pay her." Another kicked the stool she sat on, making her flinch. "Even if she works, she can't walk," he said. "She's useless." The human heard every word. His hand tightened around his bag. He stepped closer. But the buyers noticed him and laughed. "You want to hire this one-leg girl?" One asked. "Human, don't waste your time. She is broken," another said. "She will slow you down." The girl lowered her head. Her fingers squeezed the wooden sign. She knew these words too well. She had heard them every day, but this time felt different. This time, someone was watching her. Someone who didn't laugh or insult her. Someone who looked kind. The human finally stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. "Why are you bullying her?" he asked. The buyers turned from the girl to him. Their eyes narrowed. Their hands moved toward their knives. "Human," their leader said. "We are not bullying her. We are telling the truth," the girl whispered. "Please, don't fight. They will hurt you too." But the human didn't step back. Instead, he looked at her sign again, then at her injured leg. And something changed in his face, something protective, something angry, something human. He opened his mouth to speak, but the air suddenly went cold. A heavy silence fell over the market. Even the merchants stopped shouting. Even the dust seemed to freeze in the air. From the far corner of the market, a tall, armored figure walked forward. A bounty hunter. His mask was black metal. His arms thick, his boots heavy. He pointed at the girl without hesitation. "She is not for sale anymore," he said, voice hard as stone. "She belongs to us now." The girl trembled, not from fear, from something deeper, Something like despair. She whispered, "No, not again. Please, not again." The human stepped closer to her. "What do you mean she belongs to you?" he asked. The bounty hunter lifted a chain from his belt. "She ran away from her owners," he said, "and we came to collect what is ours." The human's jaw tightened. He looked at the girl. She looked back with scared eyes, and in that moment, he understood something powerful. She didn't need money. She didn't need a job. She needed someone to stand with her, someone to protect her. And he knew exactly what he was about to do. Even if it changed everything, even if it put him in danger, even if he had no idea who she really was, he stepped in front of her, facing the bounty hunter, and said, "She is not going with you." The entire market went silent again, because everyone knew what those words meant. Everyone except the human, who had no idea that by protecting her, he had just started a war. The bounty hunter stared at the human like he had lost his mind. People around them froze, watching with wide eyes. Even the dust in the air seemed to stop moving. The girl sat behind the human, her hands shaking. She looked at his back, confused and afraid. Why was he protecting her? Why did he stand between her and danger? No one had done that for her before. The bounty hunter stepped forward. He was taller, stronger, covered in armor plates. "You have 5 seconds to move," he said calmly. His voice was cold, almost bored, like he was used to hurting people. The human did not move. He just said, "She is with me," the market whispered. Some people laughed nervously. Others backed away, sensing a fight was coming. The bounty hunter nodded once. "Fine," he said. "We will take you too." 2 more hunters walked out of the crowd. Heavy boots, metal gloves, dark helmets. They surrounded the human and the girl. The girl whispered, "Please, run. You don't understand them." Her voice cracked. But the human didn't step back. He spoke softly. "I'm not leaving you." Before the hunters could grab them, the human reached down and lifted the girl in his arms. Her breath caught in surprise. She had forgotten what it felt like to be held gently. He turned and ran, not fast, but strong. Pushing through the market crowd, people jumped out of the way. Merchants shouted, children cried, the hunters roared behind them. The girl held onto his neck, her heart racing. Her single leg swinging as he ran, she whispered, "Why? Why are you helping me?" The human breathed hard as he reached a narrow alley. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe because someone has to." They slipped into the old ruined alleys beyond the market. Broken walls, hanging wires, cracked ground, perfect place to hide. But the hunters were close. Their footsteps echoed like thunder. The human ducked behind an abandoned metal stall. He set the girl down gently. She winced as her wounded stump touched the ground. But she didn't complain. He checked the road behind them. The hunters were searching, shouting orders. They were angry. And angry hunters were always dangerous. The girl spoke again, voice shaking. "You are making a mistake. They will hurt you. They will hurt us both." The human looked at her for a moment, her hair dirty, her skin bruised, her eyes full of fear. He knelt beside her and said, "You don't deserve this." The girl blinked fast. Her throat tightened. No one in her life had said those words to her. She wanted to believe him, but she had been disappointed too many times. "We need to move," the human whispered. "They will search every corner soon." He helped her stand, but she couldn't keep her balance. Her missing leg made her fall forward. The human caught her before she hit the ground. "Sorry," she whispered, her voice small, embarrassed. "You don't have to carry me." "I will," he said simply. And he lifted her again, as if she weighed nothing. They crossed through dark corridors and broken shops. The air smelled of dust and old smoke. The girl rested her head against his shoulder, her heart beating fast, She felt small, fragile, and safe at the same time. Finally, they reached an old warehouse near the edge of the colony. The door hung crooked. The inside was cold and empty, but it was a place to breathe. The human set her down on a pile of cloth. He checked the windows, the walls, the door. No footsteps behind them, no shadows moving. For now, they were safe. The girl looked at him. Her voice soft, almost confused. You should not have helped me. I am trouble. I bring danger. The human sat beside her. He took a deep breath. Maybe, he said. But leaving you there felt wrong. The girl stared at the floor. She didn't understand him. She didn't understand why a stranger would risk his life for her. She had been thrown away, called useless, broken, worthless. So many times that she believed it. But this human, he looked at her like she mattered, like she deserved safety. Her fingers touched the wooden sign she still held. Work for Prosthetic Leg. The human smiled a little. You still want that leg, she nodded slowly. It is the first step to being alive again. The human leaned back, his voice gentle. We will find a way. For the first time, the girl felt something warm in her chest, a small spark. Something she thought she lost long ago. Hope. But outside, heavy footsteps echoed. Hunters had followed them, and they're slow. Cold voices filled the street. Find the girl. Find the human. Bring them back alive. The girl gasped. We need to run. But the human shook his head. We can't run forever. He stood up, his eyes sharp and determined, and she realized something. Something that scared her more than the hunters. He was ready to fight for her. A stranger, a human. Someone she met only minutes ago. And that made her wonder, who was he really? And why did her life matter to him so much? Their real battle was about to begin inside the old warehouse. Silence covered everything like a heavy blanket. The girl sat on the cold floor, breathing fast, her eyes fixed on the dark doorway. Outside, the hunters searched the streets, their metal boots shaking the ground with every step. The human stood near the window, watching the shadows. His jaw was tight, his hands ready, but he wasn't afraid. He looked like someone preparing for a fight he already accepted. The girl noticed the calmness in him. It confused her. Why wasn't he running? Why wasn't he angry with her for dragging him into danger? Her fingers trembled as she held her wooden sign against her chest. She whispered, You don't know who they are. They won't stop until they catch me. The human turned to her. Then we won't let them, he said softly. His voice carried no fear, only resolve. But the girl lowered her head. There is more, she said. My problem is not only my leg. The human came closer. He crouched in front of her and spoke gently. Tell me, for a long moment. She stayed silent, her throat tight, her eyes wet. Then, slowly, she pulled down a piece of cloth wrapped around her arm. Underneath, glowing markings revealed themselves thin, bright lines that moved like living light beneath her skin. The human's eyes widened. The girl whispered, This is why they want me. It is not about my leg. It is about this. She touched the glowing symbols. They are not tattoos, she said. They are from my bloodline. The human listened. Silent and focused. He didn't interrupt. He didn't step back. He just watched her with steady eyes. My tribe has a gift, she continued. We can heal, we can protect. We can share life energy. But only a few of us are born with these marks. She took a shaky breath. They call us life bearers. Our energy can power machines, heal wounds, or even recharge weapons. If someone uses us the wrong way, we become tools. The human understood now. The hunters didn't want a worker. They wanted a battery, a living one. The girl closed her eyes. When I lost my leg, I lost everything. My tribe thought I was weak. They sold me to a buyer who saw me as nothing but energy. I ran away. But they found out. Her voice broke. They always find out. The human felt something heavy in his chest. Anger, sadness, frustration, but mostly. He felt the unfairness of her life. He reached out slowly and touched her arm. Near the glowing symbols, she flinched, expecting pain or disgust, but he only said, "You are not a tool. You are not broken. You are alive." The girl stared at him with wide eyes. No one had said that to her before, not since she was a child. Outside, hunters shouted orders. They were close. Their voices echoed through the cracked walls. The girl swallowed hard. "You should leave me," she whispered. "You can escape alone. They only want me." The human shook his head immediately. "I'm not leaving," he said. "Not after what they've done to you." She shook her head back, her voice trembling. "You don't understand. They will kill you. They will drain me. No one wins." But the human didn't move. Instead, he picked up a broken metal pipe from the floor. He tested its weight in his hand. "I've fought worse," he said with a small smile. The girl's breath caught. Something warm spread through her chest. Fear mixed with a feeling she didn't know how to name. She whispered, "Why do you care?" Her voice was so soft it almost disappeared in the dusty air. The human looked at her like the answer was obvious. "Because you needed someone," he said. "And I was there." The girl blinked fast as her throat tightened. She tried to speak, but tears reached the corners of her eyes. She wiped them away quickly, embarrassed, suddenly. The warehouse door shook from a hard impact. Dust fell from the ceiling. The girl gasped. Grabbing the human's sleeve, the hunters had found them. Their leader's cold voice echoed through the gaps. "Enough hiding," he said. "Give us the girl, and we will let the human walk away." The human stepped in front of her automatically. He looked like a shield. Strong, steady, unbreakable, the girl whispered, "Please don't fight. I don't want you to get hurt." He glanced back at her, his expression calm, almost warm. "I know," he said, "but sometimes someone has to fight." The door shook again. Metal bent, hinges scraped. The hunters were seconds away from breaking in. The girl's skin markings began to glow again, her body trembling from fear and power. The human noticed it. "You can do something, can't you?" he asked gently. She nodded weakly. "But it will hurt me. It always hurts me." He took her hand, his fingers warm and steady. "Then we face it together," he said. The girl stared at him, her heart pounding. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. As the door cracked open, as shadows poured inside, as danger filled the room like cold smoke, she made a choice. A choice she never thought she would make again. She chose to trust him. Their real fight was about to begin. The warehouse door shook again. Metal bent inward like it was made of paper. The girl held the human's arm tightly, her heart beating fast. Outside, the hunter's boots smashed against the ground, each step louder than the last. The human stood tall in front of her, holding the metal pipe like a real weapon. He didn't tremble. He didn't breathe fast. He just watched the door, waiting for the moment to strike. The girl whispered, "They are too many." Her voice cracked with fear. She knew these hunters. She knew their strength. She knew they never stopped, never negotiated, never cared. But the human simply said, "They will not take you." The door finally snapped open. Broken hinges screamed as the metal sheet fell to the ground. 3 hunters stepped inside first, armored, masked, armed with shock batons. Behind them came their leader, tall, cruel, calm. He looked at the human like he was nothing but a small problem. "Move aside," the leader said. "Give us the girl." The human didn't move even 1 inch. He said, "If you want her, you go through me." The hunters laughed. It was the kind of laughter that made the girl's skin go cold. The leader waved a hand. "Take him down," he ordered. 2 hunters rushed forward. Their boots slammed against the floor. Shock batons humming with electric power. The human stepped forward, too. His movements sharp and controlled, like he had been in fights before. Dangerous fights. He swung the metal pipe hard. It hit the first hunter across the arm. The shock baton fell from his hand, sparks flying. The second hunter lunged, but the human dodged and slammed the pipe into his helmet. The impact echoed through the warehouse. The hunter dropped to one knee, stunned. The girl gasped. She had never seen anyone fight for her like this. Never seen anyone risk their life to protect her. But her hope turned into fear when more hunters entered the room. 4, then 5, then more shadows behind them. The human backed up slowly, his breathing heavier now, but his eyes still sharp. Still ready to fight, the leader spoke again. "You can't save her, human. You're alone." The girl shook her head. She whispered, "Please, don't fight anymore." But the human didn't listen. He raised the pipe again as the hunters surrounded him from all sides. A baton struck his shoulder. He staggered back, pain shooting through him. Another hit his ribs. He grunted but stayed standing. The girl cried out, "Stop! Please stop!" Her glowing markings brightened as her fear grew stronger. The hunters noticed the light and stepped back for a moment. They were afraid of her power, afraid of what she could become. The leader pointed at her. "Forget the human," he shouted. "Take the girl before she activates." 2 hunters rushed toward her. Chains ready, the girl gasped and tried to crawl away. But she had only one leg. She moved slowly, too slowly. The human saw her struggling. He pushed through the pain and swung at the hunter nearest to her. The pipe hit the hunter's back, knocking him forward. The girl barely escaped the chain. The leader growled, "You are wasting my time." He lifted his own weapon, a long metal lance with a glowing core. One hit from it could break bone, or worse. The human faced him without fear, even though he knew he was outmatched, even though he knew he might die. He stood in front of the girl, blocking her with his body. The leader lifted the lance to strike. The girl screamed, "Wait!" Her markings glowed brighter than ever before. Light spread across her skin like living fire. Her body shook, energy pulsed through the air. A wind formed around her. The hunters froze. Some stepped back. They had seen this power before. They knew how dangerous it could be. The human turned toward her, his eyes wide with concern. "Are you okay?" he asked. She shook her head. "No. This hurts. But I must stop them." Her hands glowed now, her breathing sharp and painful, the energy inside her growing too fast, too strong. The leader pointed the lance at her again. "Grab her now." He shouted, but before the hunters could move, a shockwave exploded from the girl, a bright, trembling burst of energy that threw metal across the room. The human was pushed back, but stayed on his feet. The hunters were thrown into walls. Some fell unconscious, some dropped their weapons. All of them stunned. The light faded. The girl collapsed forward, panting, her body shaking violently, her markings flickering weakly. The human rushed to her. He caught her before she hit the ground, her skin icy cold, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I didn't want to lose you." He held her close, his heart racing. "You didn't lose me," he said softly. "I'm right here." But outside the warehouse, more hunters gathered. Their leader stood back up, fury burning in his eyes. This fight was far from over. The warehouse shook as more hunters surrounded it from all sides. Their leader stood with anger burning in his eyes. He wiped dust from his mask and pointed toward the broken doorway. "Move in," he ordered. Bring the girl out alive inside. The human held the girl carefully in his arms. Her body was weak, trembling, her markings fading in and out like dying light. She could barely breathe after using her power. Her head rested against his chest, her voice soft and broken. "I can't do it again," she whispered. "It hurts too much." The human brushed her hair back gently. "You don't have to," he said. "You've done enough." But they both heard the hunters closing in. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hallways. Weapons crackled with electricity. Chains rattled in the cold air. The girl's eyes filled with fear. "They will take me," she whispered. "They will drain me. They will use me until I die." The human tightened his hold on her. "No," he said. "They will not touch you." He stood, lifting her with steady arms. He looked around the warehouse for an exit, and he found one. A broken window high on the back wall, barely big enough, barely reachable. The sounds of hunters grew louder. The girl shook her head. "You can't fight all of them. You will be killed." He smiled softly. "Maybe," he said, "but not before I get you out." Before she could argue, he climbed onto a fallen beam, balancing her carefully against his shoulder. He pushed her toward the window, his hands steady even as the building shook. The girl looked down at him, her voice trembling. "What about you?" "I'll follow," he said. "Just go." But she knew the truth. He was lying to protect her. He wasn't planning to escape with her. He was planning to stay and fight. Her heart tightened painfully. "No," she whispered. "I won't leave without you." The human shook his head gently. "I made you a promise," he said. "I promised to help you walk again." Her eyes filled with tears. Because no one had ever promised her anything. No one had ever cared enough to stay. No one had ever protected her like this human did. The hunters burst into the room again. The leader raised his lance, shouting, "There! The girl! Take her!" The human pushed her through the window. Glass cracked and dust rose. She landed outside on the soft dirt. Her hands reached back desperately. "No! Don't stay. Please don't stay." The human gave her one last look. A warm, brave, human smile. "Live," he said softly. "Live and be free." He turned and charged at the hunters, pipe in his hand, heart full of defiance. Their weapons screamed with energy. Metal crashed against metal. Sparks flew through the air like wild fireflies outside. The girl tried to crawl back in, her hands slipping on the dirt, tears falling down her face. "No, no, please. Don't leave me." But then something happened, something she had never expected, something she would never forget. A bright blue flare exploded across the sky. A siren echoed through the colony. Voices shouted from the rooftops. Security forces. "Step back." Bright lights filled the alley. Armored human soldiers rushed in from every direction. They surrounded the warehouse, weapons raised. The leader pointed forward. "Neutralize the hunters." The girl gasped. Hope slammed into her chest. Her eyes widened. They had come for him. And maybe, just maybe, for her too, inside the warehouse. The human fell to one knee, exhausted. But when he heard the soldiers' voices, he looked up and smiled with relief. The hunters tried to escape, but the soldiers cornered them easily. Energy nets wrapped around their armor. Shock darts shot into their legs. One by one, the hunters fell, defeated. The girl cried with relief. She reached toward the window again. "Human, are you alive?" He appeared in the broken frame, bruised, bleeding, tired, but alive. He leaned against the wall and looked down at her. "I told you," he said weakly. "I wasn't leaving." She sobbed and crawled toward him. He knelt and lifted her into his arms again, holding her gently, protectively. She pressed her forehead against his chest and whispered, "You saved me." "Why? Why did you all this for me?" He rested his hand on her back, because his answer was simple and true. "You deserved someone who stayed," he said. "And I stayed." Her markings glowed softly again, not from fear, not from pain, but from something warm and new, something gentle. He stood and carried her toward the soldiers. She whispered one last promise. "I will walk again," he smiled, "and I will be there when you do." And that night, under broken lights and dusty skies, the girl who was once unwanted, once called broken, finally had someone who believed in her future. And the human who saved her had just begun the journey beside her. Their new life was about to begin.